Listen, guys, we've talked about the benefits of AI for almost half a day now. But we wanted also to mention that maybe some risk. So there is no more controversial technology than AI. Even Elon Musk and Jack Ma last week could not agree if AI was good or bad. But we are quite lucky here in Paris because we have an amazing panel, and I would like to ask you to introduce yourself quickly. Eric, please.
So I'm Eric SALOBIR. I'm a Roman Catholic priest for the ones who just have the sound and not the image. And actually, I'm in charge of technology for the church, and I work on applied ethics and on the impact of these technologies like AI on the society and the human being.
Hello, I'm Jean-Marc Bonnefouts. I used to be a derivative specialist in banking, and then when moved to the buy side as a hedge fund manager, and more recently I've been an investor into technology and co-founded Bonseyes, which is a distributed AI marketplace for embedded devices, which is a non-profit foundation.
Thanks, Jean-Marc. Bibi.
Hello, everybody. I'm Bibi NDIAYE from BPCE. I'm in charge of artificial intelligence for risk, compliance, security, and so on.
At BPCE.
And I'm also a member of the ad hoc expert group on AI at the EBF, European Banking Federation, for the high-level expert group at the European Commission.
You didn't tell me that. It was not on your CV, so it's good to know.
Yes, I know.
You are even better than your CV. It's good. So, Eric, it's quite rare to have a priest talking technologies, AI, so I'm going to start with you. So, as you may know, there is a religious group in US, it's called the Way of the Future. And the goal is to build the first AI God. At the beginning, I thought they were crazy, but if you think about it, AI has access to all the information from the world, from each one of us. And we already follow AI advices quite blindly. So what should we eat, where to go on holiday, or even who should we love? And Japan, they even have the robot priest. So do you think AI is competing against God, or AI will replace God?
I would say first, the Catholic Church is not afraid with competition. So that's the first point.
Good.
But no, I would say that first we see that each technology which is sophisticated enough can appear as being quite magic. So that's for sure, that's the first point. The second one is we see that there's also a big temptation for the human being is to build something like a device, to put it in front of you, to start to worship it and to expect a kind of salvation or at least some benefits from that. This is a totem. This is something, anthropologically speaking, this is super basic, and this is something that everybody has in mind. And the point is, up to now, we see that those totems, they are just wooden-made or iron-made, and you talk to them, but they never answer. But if you say, Alexia, please order a pizza, Alexia orders the pizza. And so for sure, this kind of device, like those HomePods, they are like those ancient, I would say, Roman gods of the family. So they take care of you, they take care of the family, they secure the place, and so on. At some point, perhaps some people would have the temptation to to release part of their sovereignty or their liberty. That can be the problem. And this is what we focus on, just to try always to empower the human being, to put the human being higher and higher, and not to have it under the control of any kind of machine or system.
Good. So you're not afraid that those people will listen more and more to AI than...
I think that what we have to do is to empower the people and to train the people and also to raise the awareness just to be sure that people take care of that. So they will always consider a machine as a machine and as a tool. And we also pay a lot of attention of all the situations where the human being are under the control of the machine. It can be in a company, in their work, or in many places where you see that actually we have currently more and more two kinds of people. The ones who have machines working for them, and the ones who work for the machine. And for sure, if you work in the warehouse of some of the companies and you just do all the day long what the machines ask you to do, at some point, is it good for, I would say, your self-esteem? Is it good for your dignity? I'm not so sure about that.
Okay, thanks. Honest answer. Jean-Marc, so another crazy story. In Wisconsin, a guy was sentenced to 6 years of jail by a judge who followed the advice of an AI recommendation. The guy just flee the police, and then an AI report saying the guy will be a criminal, send him to jail for 6 years, and they follow the advice. Is it not too much?
Yeah, it is clearly too much. I mean, that kind of illustrates all the risks that you can have in deploying AI in a non-human-centric way. I mean, it ticks the box of fairness. It's not fair. There's a bias. It ticks the box of lack of transparency. How do you get to the decision? And it ticks the box of lack of explainability. So this is typical of what we should watch and look for when we develop an AI, non-AI-centric application, to make sure we have an amount of governance or rules in the system, in a data-driven system, so we don't let the system dictate the ethics.
So the four, you said transparency?
Transparency, yes. The first one is fairness, transparency, and explainability.
Okay.
And
the problem with
accountability
transparency,
comes with...
they could not explain why the AI sent the guy for 6 years in jail, because the Wisconsin court is paying a private company to get the reports. So if you are outsourced the the judgment, you cannot have access because it's run by a private company. So there's no transparency at all on that. Go ahead.
Yeah. If I may, there's another kind of problem, perhaps deeper. It changes the way you conceive justice. We switch from a justice of consequences, if I do something bad, I go to jail, to a justice of correlation. I'm in the box of the people supposed to behave that way, and so I will be treated that way. And this is super dangerous, because the way justice is thought from the beginning is that this justice of consequences, it means that actually if I do something bad or not, this is not really the problem. If I'm in the box, if I'm in the right box, good for me. If I'm in the bad box, too bad.
So if you
and
think
this is very dangerous.
You think AI can predict a financial market, but they cannot predict human behavior?
I think that the big problem is AI can predict things which don't imply a lot of human agency and human freedom, liberty. Okay. The problem is I can be the only one in my box not behaving that way, but I cannot be judged like the others. I cannot say, okay, but all the, I don't know, French priests in their 40s behave that way, so you're supposed to be that way. No, that's not true.
Okay, good, fair enough, thank you. Bibi, your turn, another weird story. So Amazon has launched a specific AI to manage the recruiting process. So everything went amazing until they seen that 90% of the recruitments were men. So they look into the black box and they saw a huge discrimination towards women. This is a perfect case of unethical behavior from an AI point of view. You work in the financial sector. What about other risks in finance, in the banking sector, and what do you do about them?
Okay, so first of all, I have to say that now the risks are really limited in bank, okay. Because all AI models developed are in the goal of helping human to make decisions. So in that case, we limit the risk. And however, if you want, we can list some commonly accepted risks. First of all, this kind of risk is a risk of discrimination. But how can I say that? The example of Amazon, I'm not sure that the AI is the problem. Why I say that? Because the AI use a training set to make decisions. So if in the training set, human works at human research used to recruit men mostly, so you cannot ask to AI to do other things because the training set is this kind of examples. So if human make discrimination, the AI will do the same. So the problem is not the AI, it's maybe the training set.
To avoid those problems, many GAFAs are putting in place what they've called ethics committees. I don't know if you have something like that in your bank to avoid these kind of problems.
Yeah, of course. At BPCE, we have, at the beginning of 2018, a code of conduct and ethics. And we are now declining this code of conduct and ethics on the AI side. So the work is in progress. So to avoid or to don't have this kind of problem, I think we have to monitor things, to backtest them, and in the way of detecting drift of algorithm. And if we detect drift of algorithm, we have to react if necessary. So we have to write that, and after to decline this what we write. So if you say that we have to have monitoring and backtesting system, we have to develop that.
But the problem with the code of ethics and everything is, who are those guys who are part of the committee of ethics? Are they ethical? How do you choose them? And the second problem I see is, in most of those companies, those committees are just advisory. They don't make decisions. So don't you see any conflict of interest between the business, and guys, you are open to answer to that, between the ethics and the business-driven aspect of it?
I'm not sure we have to opposite the ethics and business.
Okay.
We can do business ethics, so it's not really opposition. But the member of the ethics commission, now we don't have that. We just have the code of conduct and ethics. And as I explained, we are now declining this code of conduct and ethics. And we'll have monitoring of that, of indicators. So if we see a drift on something, we'll have a reaction in front of the problem.
Perfect. Jean-Marc?
Well, I think basically artificial intelligence is neither artificial nor intelligent, right? So that's the basic premise we have to understand. It is not an intelligent, it is a process. And the process follows the garbage in, garbage out rule. So what's important really is to develop the right protocols, the right tooling to be able to code into the process the necessary ethics, call it ethics or governance. I would call it governance, it's broader than ethics, in order for that system to work efficiently. And that's going to be, they call that ethics by design, and it has to start from development stage, training stage, as you said, the testing stage, the validation stage, it has to follow an agile approach, where at every step, if you have transparency and agility, you can spot, and you have a human in the loop, you can spot the problem and remedy the problem. So I think it's really about developing the right set of tooling and delivery mechanism to make AI effective.
Should we not wait for the government to make the rules, to make the law?
Never.
No.
What do you mean? We've made rules for cars. When we launched cars, we had priorities to the right.
These are complex distributed systems, and you're not going to find, you might find an ex post.
There are smart people at the government level. They can understand. They are smart, they can understand.
Well, they understand, but too late. So it has to be by design, it has to be coded into the process. And yes, the government could possibly have some involvement if there's a legal need at some point. But I strongly believe in the concept of self-regulated organizations, which is midstream between the state and the law, and basically a couple of guys or girls doing what they want to do.
Eric, you want to say something?
To my mind, we need both. At some point, self-regulation has its own limits, and we see that we also need time to time the regulators to frame the market and just to to identify the pitfalls, just to be sure. But I agree that ethics by design is, to my mind, too, the best way to be sure that all the big players will go in the right way, and just try to align profit and ethics or impact. And I would say perhaps the first point is not to be focused on profit, but on the creation of value, because value is more like long-term. And the second point is how to build value on values. And this is the only way to be really sustainable and to have a business which will be a real long-term business.
And on the tools, I have to say that two major points, as you said, is when you are building the AI model, for example, you have two major steps. The first one is when you build the model, black box, if you want, you have to challenge and your black box model doing, for example, classical statistical models to see that if they are together, say, it's the same kind of results. And the advantage of the classical statistical models is to have rules. Natively, you have rules. Or for the black box, you only have the results. You don't have rules to the results. And the second step is on the daily use of the AI, you really have to create a monitoring and a backtesting system, as I said, to detect a drift of algorithm. Why I say that, it's because of, now you have the evolution of self-training algorithm. And if you have self-training algorithm, and maybe after you have the algorithm which interacts each other, maybe we can have a chaotic system. So in this kind of case, we really need a monitoring and backtesting system to avoid drift and react if necessary.
Thank you.
If I may add also very
quickly,
briefly,
because we are running out of time, and there's one question I still want to ask Eric, but
yeah,
go
just
ahead.
what's probably needed and will help is the concept of platform, because today most AI developments are bilateral, AI firm with clients, and they don't really favor transparency, and so platformization of AI delivery would help to set this governance layer that we're talking about.
Thank you, Jean-Marc. So, Eric, we are both quite big fans of Black Mirror. There is a great episode, it's called San Junipero, and I guess you know where I'm going. What if some people are trying to record our memories, our spirit? What if tomorrow we'll never die? Where is the place of the church if we live in a virtual world for the rest of our life?
To my mind, for the human being could be good, for the species that could be the worst. Because actually there are two ways to extend your life. The first one is reproduction. That's what we do and like what the animals and plants do. The second one is to extend forever your own life. But you remain who you are. And so if we decide now that we continue to, all of us, to live instead of having children or having another generation or whatever, it means also that it will be the end of evolution. So what some people say, oh, this is so magic, that could be the kind of post-humanity, but this post-humanity will just be standing all the time at the same place. Probably it will not evolve anymore, and probably that's not the best for the species.
So let's hope AI is not the end of humanity.
Hope so.
Guys, thank you so much for the panel. Guys, a big applause. If you have more questions,
Thank you very much.
come and grab them.